Here's the biggest problem I have out of any other problem. Let's say I needed paperwork or I needed the hospital to take me seriously or report what just happened to me. They don't do so. Like, for instance, in Lowell, I had a seizure, or I should say neurological activity that day, had a fall, my legs weren't working, and got stuck on the side of the road. I was asking for an ambulance, nobody would call. Somebody walked by, poured booze on my back, thinking I was a drunk, saying, "Drunky, drunky, drunky." I passed out, woke up in the hospital. They took a blood sample, urine sample, everything. There was no drugs and alcohol in my body. The nurse came up and asked me, "Why are you sober?" And I said, "That's a stupid question. What do you mean?" She goes, "There's no alcohol in your system, but you reek of alcohol." I said, "Somebody poured it on me. I don't know what happened to me. It's something shaky, falling." At that point, they released me, and all the hospital told me is possible drug abuse. Don't know, basically. Up here in Rochester, we get the same shit. I have a seizure. Nobody gets me to the emergency room for 1 to 3 hours. I get to the emergency room, and they don't want to do shit. Frisbee Hospital had me have a seizure. I split open my face in the bedroom. Somebody tried to rape me during that because they're going senile. And with all that, I eventually got to the emergency room. Somebody eventually called and got me there 2 days later. And what do you think the hospital did? You think they did anything for my concussion, my brain damage, the fact that my speech is now fucked up, that I had a seizure, my nervous system, I'm not walking properly? Do you think they're doing anything about those things? No, they released me because the doctor says the story's too weird. And what do you think they put on the paperwork for that one? Storytelling? Oh, Zach came in with storytelling time. Meanwhile, I'm bleeding out in the waiting room because I can't walk. They pushed me out in a wheelchair. I'm bleeding all over myself. The nurses come over and say, "Do you need help getting into the emergency room?" And with my fucked up nervous system and my brain damage, I go, I just got out. The doctor won't go do anything. And at that point, they go, "Holy shit, you're fucked up. What happened to you? We need a call." They get everything straightened out and they say they're going to call the medical board on him. And I'm just still left to be released. Also, I have had a seizure at the hospital up there. Now, there's one that I wouldn't call a seizure because it was neurological activity and there was a lot of stuff going on. We had false reports from one of my coworkers. We had three coworkers reporting it correctly afterwards. At the moment, they didn't know what the hell happened, so they didn't have a report. You had the police officer saying I wasn't in uniform and I didn't work there when I worked there for a living and I was managing the place. I was 5 minutes at the end of my shift left and I was trying to leave. You got a bunch of things going on. You also got beeping noises. You got me trying to hold back the seizure as well. So, and you also got two of them. You got one and then two. And they're not quite seizures. Some of it's neurological activity and then a short seizure. And so, and I also didn't stay in the hospital because the police are involved and we got a co-worker involved. So I have to let the cameras and let them straighten all that stuff out. And I am now like totally PTSD. Totally. I've been dragged across the floor and had a second seizure. So that one isn't even a good example. We shouldn't even go with that one. But we have ones before that as well. We have another seizure when I was walking down the street. I was taking gabapentin, what was helping. Somebody stole my prescription, and then somebody the day before gave me some of my prescription, but through their bottle. This was years ago. I was probably age 23, 22, something like that. At that point, I had a lot of neurological activity because I had no gabapentin except for the night before. My levels are probably still high, so I don't understand how this is happening to me. I figure, well, this happens all the time, so maybe it has nothing to do. Maybe the gabapentin's just wearing off. It should be still helping me, but maybe because it was yesterday, it's wearing off, and I don't have my prescription because somebody swiped it, and I'm homeless, living in the woods. I'm not allowed to stay at the shelter thanks to my mother's and father's choices. I'm not allowed to work, and anytime I put in an application, it's not like anybody's hiring me. So, anyways, I'm living like that, and people are snatching everything they can from me. because I got nowhere to store. It's not like I got a home where I can lock the door and put my stuff in. I'd like to see anybody carry their stuff around the shelters and the streets and last 30 days with none of it getting stolen or missing. I'd love to see that with no car, no home. Anyway, so we got that going on, and I ended up saying, well, maybe some exercise would help. So I got out of the chair, got out of the bed. I was switching between them, and my friend David, well, he's not really a friend, he's more somebody I take care of with a lot of health issues. There was 5 elderly people or people that were disabled, and I used to do runs doing their dishes, house cleaning. There was a Wendy who referred me, but I actually never got put on the books for it like Wendy did. Instead, I did it out of the kindness of my heart. And a lot of times they would say, where are you going tonight? And I would say, oh, I'll find a place. And they say, where's this place? I say, I don't know. They say, no, you're staying here. So a lot of times if you're just nice, that happened. I realized that, so I helped out these people. David came with me. We went down 5 steps, took another 10 steps, and then I had a full-blown seizure. My nervous system, every muscle straightened. I got electrocuted down my spine. I went flying in the air, and then while I was in air, the seizure was so bad I blacked out completely, and I was shaking like a fish, seizing on the ground while I was blacked out. A bunch of witnesses saw this. David and people crossed the street. The ambulance arrived, picked me up because we have other people calling for help. I go to the emergency room. They want to run a brain scan, but I'm horrified. I'm homeless, and this is the same hospital that keeps on malpracticing me and doing the opposite. If I'm suicidal, they release me to the streets, and if I'm not suicidal, they keep me in a suicide hospital. And this is during summer. And when it's warm out, they want to keep me for the whole summer in the hospital. And when it's freezing cold out, they don't want to let me stay at all. So they have all these opposites, and they're always trying to do something fucked up. Like in Lowell Treatment Center at the age of 19, 20, something like that, in my 20s, for sure, they allowed somebody 7 doors down to come in my room and try to stick his finger in my bum every fucking hour at night. Walking right past staff. The staff are literally allowing him to come in my room and try to rape me on multiple occasions. And after 3 days of this, I try to beat the living shit out of them. They check the cameras and they want me to sign a non-disclosure. They get all their lawyer paperwork ready and they apologize to me and say, this was never supposed to happen. We don't allow people to get raped in their room and allow other people 7 rooms down. And we're going to fire that worker. She can never allow that. That desk is there for a reason and blah, blah, blah. Well, did you ever make it right by me? Huh, hospital? You're a hospital. I'm supposed to be safe in you. And you had a guy, and I'm helpless, locked into a room, and somebody's allowed to come in and try to get into bed with me? What the fuck is wrong with your hospitals? And I came out every single night, multiple times, going up to that staff member on her phone, this heavy-set fat staff on a phone, and said, do not allow this guy 8 doors down to come in my room again. And then I even screamed on the second day. I said, I'm going to come over that desk and beat the living shit out of you if you let this guy in my room again. I'm throwing him to the ground, and I'm literally throwing him out of my room, beating him. And the staff member's like, stop beating him. And then the kid walks back to his room. What the fuck is wrong with that staff member? Well, that's why she was fired. She was fired on the spot, according to the people who wanted me to sign the disclosure. Oh, and they also held me down and injected me with drugs on the 3rd day when I tried to beat the shit out. Well, I actually did grab him, threw him to the ground, and then cocked up a punch to really fuck him up. By the time that happened, the staff grabbed me. I really didn't want to fuck him up, so I kept it pretty slow. I wasn't like Speedy going after him. He's a mentally ill kid that is he had dreadlocks, he was Spanish, and he couldn't really speak. And the only interaction me and him ever had is when the day I came in, he was at the front desk, and I had to check in at the front desk. They told me to stand right there. The kid's babbling to me. I'm ignoring him. At some point, I say, hi. Hi, my name is Zach. That's it. I said, hi, my name is Zach. I was nice about it. I didn't say, shut the fuck up. Stop talking to me, whoever the fuck you are. Nope, he was babbling. Said, hi, my name is Zach. Checked in. That's it. Then this kid sneaking into my room to rape me, and I'm throwing him on the floor every night, and nobody's doing shit about it until during the day we have a confrontation. And then there's a big problem, and they want me to sign a non disclosure. So we got stuff like that happening in the hospitals as well. I'm going to have to do a part two to this because I'm not feeling too good in the kidneys, and I got to go at 11 o'clock to go get a CT scan of exactly that. My kidney pain is going away, but when I stand up, it comes back and the GI is getting worse again, what is probably just from standing up so much and going around so much. But that's what happens. I force my body to do things it doesn't want to do. That is why I get injured. Like, for instance, if you sprain your ankle, right? Are you going to run a marathon? But you have to, or you're gonna be living in the woods. If you don't run that marathon with that sprained ankle, you're gonna live in the woods. So that's my mindset set because I cannot live in a car. I cannot live in a shelter. The hospitals are terrible and they do not take me seriously. Now, if you try to get, let's say, my medical right, well, let's say we called Wentworth Douglas, Lowell General Hospital, and Frisbee. Let's say we called all three of them and we wanted to get straight answers about my neurological disorder and the symptoms they've been seeing. It's impossible because they're not fucking arriving. Like, for instance, I had a seizure that was perfect for the doctors to see. We could have ended this, but instead, when the EMTs arrived, they got me down the stairs and injected me with 2 shots of Ativan because I was shaking so severely. I was shaking so bad, and my speech was so bad, and tears were in my eyes, and I was in so much pain that they injected me with 2 shots of Ativan. Now, I told them to hold up until the doctor saw me, but it was like this. The doctor has to see this. And he says, we don't have to listen to the doctor. Injected me with 1, injected me with 2. The shakes and the seizing stopped before I went unconscious. And then when I got to the hospital, the shakes were minimal. And I was able to kind of walk my way out of there. And within about a week, I was able to walk again. But what do you think the hospital has for records? What do you think the doctor has? Patient arrived with neurological disorder and seizures acclaimed, but we only saw mild shaking and we don't know. It looks like almost faking. He looks fine to us. He looks fine. He walked out of here. He's fine. That's what you're going to get. And so, but you're going to mention what the EMT saw when they arrived before you injected me with 2 shots of Ativan? No. We're not going to report that. We're not. If anybody calls about Zach's neurological disorder, we're not going to report what the EMTs saw. No. We're going to report what the doctor saw hours later after 2 shots of Ativan. You can see how this is a problem if you're trying to get healthy and you need a good report of your neurological disorder. After 25 years, I mean, when I had twitches and shakes, the doctor called the side effects from meds. When my leg bounced around, he's just hyperactive. When I ended up ODing on the ground, my mother just gave me a combo of meds and it's an allergy attack. When the doctors say I need physical therapy, speech therapy, and I'm talking about an overdose, it's just an allergy attack and he has a coordination issue. We can cure it with ballet. When we go to all these different states and we don't have any doctors working on me and I'm putting in jackets because I'm starting to shiver even though it's 80 degrees, I'm wearing a suede jacket in Texas during the day. In New Mexico, I'm having seizures behind trees. I'm shaking to the ground and then going unconscious and nobody is out there for hours to try to help me. No doctors available, no good parents, no even staff members out there. They're inside, supposed to be looking out the window. I was literally right where I'm supposed to be. I'm on the tree on where I'm supposed to be. There's one tree near the basketball field that we're allowed to play around because it's in sight. That's where I was, but yet they said they didn't even realize I didn't return in. All the other kids were in for 2 hours before they found me. Then my father sues that place, wins, and I'm in Maine. I fall to the ground having shakes, a lot of weird symptoms in Maine. Do I get to the emergency room then? Do we get my neurological report? He was looking at fireworks explode. There was loud noises. There was a little breeze in the air. It was nighttime. And Zach fell to the ground screaming, shaking that he wants to go home and he doesn't feel he's in pain. He's in pain. Nope, we never gave a proper report of any of this in order. So now, at the age of 31, I'm walking down the street. I have a seizure. They pick me up an hour later. They inject me with Ativan. When I arrive, the doctors barely see shit. And then I can't get a report of my illness. So basically, no matter what I do, these fuckers can't just do what they're supposed to. I'm just asking for everybody to do their jobs. Nothing more. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I'm going to the doctors. I'm going to the emergency rooms. I'm going to Social Security. I am going to the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm going to welfare. And I even worked while injured, something I'm never supposed to do, something nobody else, I don't know anybody else who's bled internally, found blood in their testicles, and before they know anything, just went to work for 3 months and then went to the GI 4 months later. I don't know anybody bleeding internally who does that. I don't know anybody who has seizures like I do, shakes like I do, and has no documentation of it. But you know what the cause of this is? My mother. When you have a mother like mine telling stories, that will do it. Like, for instance, we had symptoms of my neurological disorder right in front of my mother and father. All they had to do was tell a neurologist that I'm bumping in the furniture, falling down, and my shins are getting scabbed up all the time, and my wrists are whacking in the doorknobs all the time. I have twitches, tics, and my leg bounces uncontrollably. And that's all we had to do at that time, at the age of 15, 16. But instead, my mother calls everything self-harming. She misleads the doctor. She hides the overdose. She traffics me all over the country. So, of course, when I am 31 years old and they find me on the side of the road sober, they have no clue what to do. Possible drugs, found him on side of the road unconscious, head injury, scraped body, head injury, scraped body, head injury, scraped body, head injury, possible drugs, possible alcohol, but clean urine, clean drugs. They always do that. They put possible drugs, but then they follow it with a clean urine. What the fuck is the purpose of that other than to fuck me over? If I'm sober for 8 years, I have a seizure, they find me unconscious on the side of the road, there's a good 50-50 chance that on arrival, they put possible drugs right on my chart, right there on the get-go. Then they check my hair, blood, everything for drugs first, before they even talk to me. I could be going in there for a broken leg and they don't listen. I had COVID, the flu, and they treated it like a cold in there. They had me going back to work getting people sick. My coworkers were like, that's no fucking flu. That's COVID. Everybody was telling me, you need to stay home. You need to go to the doctor. I said, I went to the doctor several times. Then you need to find a better doctor. No, that's not the problem. The problem is not that I need to find a better doctor. I could find a better doctor, but what happens if he's misinformed? What happens if he's getting a medical chart that just says I'm full of shit and I love to play games in the hospital? Then I have to get supper because I hate the hospital. I hate it. I am not playing no fucking games. I give up. I'm about to give up again. I gave up before and just treated myself because these doctors keep on doing this to me. And my mother kept on doing that to me. So I cannot deal with doctors thinking I'm doing this for fun. And then I get hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt and vomit and hurt and hurt. And then they give me pharmaceuticals. Then they send me a letter saying that pharmaceutical might have had poison or steel shards or something in it that's going to hurt me even more. So yes, if you call any of the hospitals, you will get reports, but you're going to need me to straighten out what they actually mean. Without me, it makes no sense because these doctors do not want to listen to their patient. If the doctors listened to me and wrote down what happened before I arrived, then people would have a good idea on how to help me. But because these doctors have been misinformed that I am some storyteller, I'm a fantasy maker, I'm doing this for fun. I'm mentally ill. I'm bipolar. I'm a fire setter. I'm a serial killer. This is everything my mother called me. I'm a thief. I steal black kids' medals and go around writing my name on it to go hurt my mother. And that means I'm bipolar and I need medicine. And that means that I am out to get her and I got all these different diseases. That is the problem. My mother talked like that at the doctors for years, year after year after year after year. My mother would go to the doctor's office when I had neurological symptoms and chalk it up to whatever she wanted to chalk it up to without even speaking to a real doctor. My mother said that she was better than any doctor. My mother said she was a nurse, so she knows better than the doctor. These doctors don't know shit, is what my mother said. I know everything my mother said about my son's health because I'm his mother. Yet, I continued to get sicker and sicker the more my mother got involved in my health. She even tried to get me on schizophrenic medication. And as much as my father might forget that, that's a big deal to me. My mother trying to convince me that I'm schizophrenic when I'm not, and trying to get me on dangerous medications, and then I have to pay the price as an adult because my mother wanted to play games, and then I go to the doctor's office and the doctor plays games because they think I'm playing a game because my mother really played a game and I just want real medical care and I just bled on the ground and went unconscious. But they came 2 hours later. I'm now conscious. They gave me 2 shots of Ativan and I'm able to move and walk again. And then the doctor comes in and I'm responsive and I'm not shaking. Well, why don't you leave me like that shaking mess while I have seizures so the doctor can see how bad it really is? But they don't do that. And it doesn't last all day long. If the doctor takes 3 hours to come in, there's a good chance that I'll just be shaky when I try to move. If the doctor has me walk around the room, I'll fall. But he doesn't do that. The doctors don't do that. They give you Ativan before the doctor even looks at you. And then I ask for paperwork. I say, so you guys don't want me taking Ativan. You don't want they say, oh yeah, but we can't control that. So you don't want the EMTs to give me Ativan, but you can't control it. And no matter how many times I call, they won't do anything about it. So then I get an emergency bracelet on my ankle. They won't give me paperwork to inform the doctors if I get hurt. Not only that, the paperwork to inform the EMTs hasn't been written up in 3 years of me asking. No matter what I do, my primary care isn't even talking. Most of these doctors expect 15 minutes a year to be enough, unless it's mental health and meds. If I want pills, they'll see me every single month to get pills. But if I want a diagnosis, forget it. That's their attitude. So I have gotten nowhere. They have no actual reports. The neurologist has switched me around to 3 neurologists, and as soon as they got involved with my father, I got a totally different treatment from everybody. As soon as they asked my father saying, it's all full of shit. See, I knew it was full of shit. See, I knew he was full of shit. See, I knew it. Well, look at what this doctor's saying. He's saying he doesn't have it. Look, this doctor's saying he doesn't have it. I knew my son was full of shit. If my father is doing that with Alice to my doctors, then it's going to feed off of each other. My doctor's going to feed off of them, and they're going to feed off my doctors, and I'm going to fucking die because these 2 assholes want to feed off of each other. My mother started this shit by making up stories to the doctors. The doctors have misinformed. So I do not get proper information from the doctors. That's the whole point of this. The whole point is I need to be able to get proper information from my doctor. When I get paperwork from my doctor, I want it to have my actual illness on it. Not some bullshit from my mother that does nothing to help me. I don't need Seroquel. If I needed drugs, my mother set me up for all the drugs I need. If I wanted to be a drug dealer, my mother and father set that up perfect. But if I want medical treatment for actual physical disability, just forget it, thanks to my mother and father. And no matter how many times I go to the doctors, no matter how many times I bring up the cause of this, no matter how many times I shake, fall, twitch, injure, crack my head, close to dying, found unconscious, frozen to death, drunk, found frozen to death, sober, found on the ground, sober, unconscious, found partly awake, on the ground, sober. When you have that over and over, cars running over my hair, fucking close to death every time. All because my mother was telling stories and the doctors have no clue what's going on with me. If they did, then Lowell would have had a report and would have done something about it a long time ago. But as long as my mother's storytelling is all they're going by, the doctors will not have correct reports no matter how many times I call, no matter how many times anybody calls. And as long as my father and Alice call my doctor, and then my doctor gives them the information, and then Alice and my father feed off of that, going, see, there's nothing. And then they say, see, he's a shithead, he's making it all up, he makes up fantasies. Then the doctor writes that down. He's a fantasy teller, he's mentally ill, so this is all a game. He enjoys going to the hospital, he enjoys coming here. Oh, so he likes the hospital. No, I fucking hate the hospital. The only time I ever had to go to the hospital better than where I was living was when I was living in the woods during winter in 0 degrees, and I was literally about to die at nighttime. When that happened, it became like I was suicidal. I'm dying night after night. They're shocking me back to life. It's going to hit 0 tonight. I'm going to have to sleep in a snowbank or with somebody who's going to rape me or try to kill me. And I don't want to stay with a random druggie who's going to might kill me, rape me, or steal my stuff. So no matter what, that did get pretty depressing, knowing that you might die every single night, only because you can't get a job. And even if you did get a job, your disability would get in the way, and then they would want documentation of your disability, and thanks to my mother and father, I cannot provide it. So with all that going on, it can be easily fixed by my father and me working together. And if he calls my doctor, that might be helpful if I'm present to work out some of the details. That would actually be great, because I'm absolutely sure I would cry if I heard all the malpractice, because I know these doctors have fucked with me good. Oh my God, have they? They've used me as a cash cow for years too, and they've overprescribed me many times, and they've poisoned me with 3 recalled medicines. So definitely, oh my God, if I read my medical file with my mother doing what she did, I bet it's horrific. I would be in tears from all the lies. All the lies, all the lying and lying about me really brings me to tears. Why does everybody have to make up stories about me? I played with matches at age 6. Okay, I'm willing to admit that. I played with matches at age 6. So did my nephew. I bet even a lot of my brothers and sisters and friends played with matches at age 6. But see, if you look at my medical record, I tried to burn the house down and I had to be hospitalized in a mental institution. Okay, next one. Well, I won a swimming medal. Okay, but according to my medical record, I have attachment disorder. I stole a swimming medal. I was trying to get my mother because I have attachment disorder. I have a lot of psychology issues, and I need to be medicated right away because I make up fantasies. That was age 7 with my mother. Then there's the overdose, which I told my mother, and on my medical file, it's a mysterious allergy attack from my mother's administration of medication. Now, most of this might be hard to find too, because right after the overdose, I was adopted. So I don't know if they closed those medical records at that time. But there was a lot of stuff before I was, because I was in foster care living with them before I was actually adopted. Anyway, so there was an overdose. Now, I brought that up at the doctor's office, and that's when my mother said it was an allergy attack. That's why it's in there. But then I started sucking on my skin because the overdose screwed up my nervous system and my skin felt weird, funny. So I wanted to feel what it felt like to suck on the skin. My mother then told the doctors that I'm suicidal and I'm a self-harmer and I need more depression medication. And they upped and gave me more pills, what fucked up my head even more. So now we got self-harming at the age of 7. Then I try to eat a mushroom outside that looks pretty and red, and my older brother, Jeff, I'm pretty sure, comes by and says, "What are you trying to do? Commit suicide?" And the way he says it, I know it's bad, but I don't understand the word, so I put the mushroom down. The following week, I got my younger nephew there, who gets to watch TV. He gets to have a normal life while I get horrible medication, sleep all the time, and drool on myself. No TV, no education, nothing. Most of my shit, I don't get to learn words like commit and suicide. But anyway, so I'm playing outside. I see the red mushroom. It still looks pretty. I think it's like an edible mushroom, like a pizza. So I go over, I take a bite. Now, apparently, my nephew knows that that's poisonous like the gray ones. Now, I only think the gray ones are poisonous. But my nephew thinks that's poisonous. He asks what I'm doing. I'm thinking of what the word is. Now, the word is eat. But that is so weird of a word to use in this situation. I just repeat something I heard, something I used to do during childhood. If somebody told me that this is called this, I would then repeat it. If I was playing with matches and my mother said that that could burn the house down and I'm trying to burn the house down, then that's what I believed, because or I shouldn't say believed, that's what I repeated. Anyways, so my nephew asks me what I'm doing, and I think back and I say, "Oh, I'm committing suicide." And all happy like I don't realize what I'm saying, because I'm all, "Oh, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying." So then I put the mushroom down with a bite on it. My nephew runs inside all panicked. I don't know why, but I figure it has to be one of the poisonous mushrooms like the gray ones, not like the pizza ones. But that's not what my mother really is worried about. She's worried about a mental illness and wants to get me on medication. She wants me to admit the words, "I committed suicide." But she comes over and asks it in a different way. She says, "Are you trying to kill yourself?" And I say, "No, I'm not trying to kill myself." I know those words. "No, I'm not trying to kill myself." And then my mother comes back again. "Are you sure? Because Seth says you're trying to kill yourself." I say, "No, I'm not trying to kill myself." She goes back and hears the actual words and comes back and goes, "Are you trying to commit suicide?" And I said, "No," again. I don't even know what those words mean. I'm trying to eat it like it's on a pizza. I'm trying to eat it like it's on a pizza. Well, then my mother goes, "No, you're suicidal and you're mentally ill." And she stops. She figures, well, I'm going to override this. He's mentally ill. He's committing suicide. I'm going to teach him a lesson. So she drags me to the bathroom. She takes a bottle of Ipecac. And instead of measuring it out, she tells me, "I'm going to give you extra as a punishment to teach you a lesson. I don't ever want you saying shit like that again." So she pours into this cup. It's an 8-ounce cup. She pours about 7 ounces of pure Ipecac in there. No water, no mixing. She shows this right in front of me. I don't know why she made it such a point to tell me it was extra and fill this up in front of me, but she did. And then she gave me the cup, and she told me I'm have to drink every last drop of those 7 ounces of Ipecac. She didn't measure, read the bottle. She knows that this is inappropriate behavior, but she wants to punish me in the worst way possible. Fuck, your mother might have put, hot sauce on you when you said something, or soap. I got a full bottle of Ipecac and a destroyed stomach and esophagus for the rest of my life, and a shitload of pills to destroy my brain, and I got a lot of twisting by my mother trying to convince me about things that just aren't true. Like a kid playing with matches means that he's trying to burn the house down. That's not true. If the kid doesn't know what he's doing and he says, "I don't know," you shouldn't then try to force an idea or force something on him. That is so wrong. That's how police officers get false confessions. And if you want to do that to a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old, you need to burn in hell. You cannot go up to a 7-year-old and twist his mind up like that. When my nephew brought a lighter to school, and he made a little boo-boo. Okay, he brought my lighter to school without my permission. He could have burned the school down. He could have got in trouble. He came back. I talked to him. Did I tell him, "You're trying to burn the school down"? Yes, you are. You're trying to burn the school down. If you're bringing a lighter to school, then there's a chance that you could burn the school down. So you're trying to burn down the school. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Admit it. Yes, you are. No, I would never do something like that. Only my mother would do that to just me. She never did it to my nephew, never did it to anybody but me. She was very good at doing stuff like that. She also had a lot of fantasies about things like my swimming medals or anything she could come up with. Like one time, my mother said I had people in the hallway staying with me, hanging out at 3 in the morning. Meanwhile, it was really my mother getting really sick from liver failure, and she was hallucinating people that weren't there. How do I know this? Because nobody was there. My father came out. They woke me up out of a sound sleep to tell me that they're seeing black shadows out of a mirror. My mother used to watch the mirror all night, like to see if somebody would be coming in the hallway, because she was delusional. She actually tilted a mirror right to my door to see if I would have anybody in or out of there. Now, in the whole time I lived in Chelmsford, at any time, I had nobody during the day, nobody during the evening, nobody during the morning, and nobody during night. I had no friends. Nobody was fucked up. Nobody would ever come to my house. And if they did, they certainly wouldn't be walking right up to my mother's and father's door at the age of 19 years old. By the way, I'm age 19 when my mother's doing this, and she dies the following year of liver failure because she's losing her mind, liver failure, and she's taking it out on me. So nobody even notices that my mother is this sick in the mind. Also, that her drinking and pills have got out of control. Everybody is just blaming me. Oh, no, Zach's crazy, and Patricia, no, she's fine. Zach did everything, yeah. Zach's just a shithead. He's an evil kid. Yeah, he's lying, he's stealing, yeah, he's doing all that. Meanwhile, I didn't steal any more than things that were stolen from me. I have seen multiple things go missing from my house and go to somebody else's house in the family. I have seen multiple things of mine disappear out of my drawers. I've seen multiple things of mine, like my swimming medal, get stolen. I've seen multiple things that were mine end up with my nephew, nieces, or otherwise without my permission. I have seen plenty of stuff all the way to age 7 taken from me by other family members, nieces, nephews, otherwise, mother, father, and never once did anybody call it theft. And it was never with my permission. They went into my stuff, took it, and then sold it or gave it away. And this is stuff like my swimming medals. This is stuff like my crossbow, my BB guns. This is stuff like my toys during childhood. This is stuff like my boots, jackets. This is stuff I'm still using. We're not talking about boots that are old and no, these are the only boots I have that are waterproof. I don't have any boots now. My mother went into my room, stole my boots, gave them to my nephew, and then I had no boots for a program I was living in, and it was muddy everywhere, and this asshole down the street